The movie starts with Félicie, who lives in an orphanage and tries to escape but fails. Victor, her friend, who also lives in the orphanage, catches her and gets upset because she tries to escape without him. So she promises him that she won't try to escape without him again. The orphanage manager then talks to Félicie and understands that her only dream is to become a ballet dancer at the opera. She explains to Félicie that achieving her dream is difficult because life is tough and harsh. Then Victor tries to help her by showing her a picture of the Paris opera, and Félicie is mesmerized. He tells her if she escapes with him that night, he'll take her to the opera, and she'll become the greatest ballerina, while he becomes a great inventor. That night, Félicie wakes up startled, checks her music box, and Victor, disguised, asks her to follow him quietly, so no one notices them. However, the orphanage supervisor notices and chases them, so they climb to the roof, and Victor uses wings, pulls out a chicken, saying that he has studied everything about chickens, and now they will fly like it. But Félicie tells him it can't fly, and though he doesn't believe her, and throws it. Unfortunately, the chicken falls and dies, becoming the victim of the escape attempt. Then, the supervisor reaches them and continues to chase them. So Victor carries Félicie and flies with her, falling into a car, and Félicie's music box falls, but Victor retrieves it for her, while the supervisor keeps chasing him. But Victor manages to evade him and returns to Félicie and board a moving train, successfully escaping from the supervisor. Later, Félicie discovers her music box is broken, so Victor fixes it for her. And when the train arrives at the station, they sense someone opening the door, so they hide in an apple crate, and when they come out, they find themselves in Paris and are amazed by the city. They walk around enjoying the beauty of Paris. When Félicie asks Victor about the ballet school, he doesn't know its location, so they decide to search for it together until they find it. But pigeons keep bothering Victor until he falls off a bridge into a passing boat, getting revenge for the chicken. Félicie sees this and asks him to come back, but unfortunately he can't swim, and asks her to meet him on the same bridge the next day at the same time. Félicie gets upset and walks alone through the streets of Paris. She accidentally finds the opera and is amazed by it. She enters and sees a ballerina dancing and is very impressed. Then a guard catches her, thinking she's a thief, but a woman named Odette asks him to let her go, which he does. Then Odette tells Félicie to leave, and she does, but waits on the stairs. And when Odette comes out, Félicie runs after her to thank her. But Odette thinks she's a thief and wants to rob her. But Félicie explains she wants to thank her. And when Félicie asks about the ballerina she saw dancing on the stage, Odette tells her it's Rosita Mouret, the best ballerina at the opera. So Félicie asks if Odette is also a ballerina at the opera. But she says no, she's a cleaning lady, and gets annoyed with Félicie's questions and asks her to leave. But Félicie refuses and tells Odette she's the first person to be kind to her since she got lost from her friend and has nowhere to go because she's an orphan. But Odette tells her she hates children and asks her to stay away. Then she meets Regine, the house owner, who asks her to clean her stairs because guests will visit in the morning. Then Félicie goes to Odette and offers to help her with the cleaning because she's young and healthy, and Odette agrees on the condition that Félicie stops asking questions. Félicie then explains that she ran away from the orphanage because she loves dancing and wants to be a student at the opera, and asks if Odette can help her, but Odette says she can't do anything for her. And when Virginie Lehaut asks about Félicie, Odette says she's just someone helping her out, and Regine replies that she won't pay her extra money. Félicie then hears music and follows the sound to see Camille Lehaut, Regine's daughter, practicing ballet. Suddenly, Félicie bumps into a table, causing a vase to fall. As she tries to catch it, she unfortunately enters Camille's room. So Camille gets angry because Félicie enters without permission. But Félicie introduces herself and says She works with Odette, cleaning. When Félicie asks if Camille is a professional ballet dancer, Camille says she's still training and waiting for her acceptance letter from the opera, and she expects to be the most famous ballerina next year. So Félicie tells her she's also a ballet dancer, but Camille mocks her, calling her a nobody, while she's a star, then takes Félicie's music box and throws it off the balcony. So Félicie runs after it and finds it completely broken, making her very upset. Then the mailman arrives with the letter Camille and her mother have been waiting for from the opera. So Félicie takes the letter and gets a diabolical idea to get back at Camille. Then she goes to the opera with the letter, and the guard recognizes she's not Camille and wants to turn her over to the police. However, the opera director sees her and asks if she's Camille O, and Félicie lies and says yes, and he believes her, making her a student at the opera. Then Félicie puts on a ballet outfit and is overjoyed, rushing to her class, where she meets other girls and introduces herself as Camille O. The instructor then arrives, and they all line up, and when Félicie asks about him, her classmates are surprised she doesn't know him, as he's Louis Meront, a famous ballet instructor and choreographer. Then Louis tells them today is important because he will choose one of them to play Clara in the Nutcracker performance on New Year's Eve with the star Rosita Murray, and each girl has a chance to join the performance except Félicie, because they all have worked hard, trained, and have talent, while Félicie does not. He then tells them that the audition will begin tomorrow. Later, Félicie meets Vector as they had planned, and she gives him the broken music box. So, he reassures her that he will fix it. He then tells her that he achieved his dream and will become a real inventor, because he got a job with the man building the Eiffel Tower, and he recounts meeting a man named Matron, who introduced him to the Eiffel Tower project. Then, he says that he will continue working on his flying invention, and Félicie tells him that she is now a student at the opera and will soon become a ballerina at the Paris Opera. And when Vector asks how she got into the opera, Félicie lies, but he notices because her nose twitches when she lies, so she gets annoyed and tells him the truth. Then Félicie returns to the opera and starts training, and Louis initially chooses her to be removed from the training, but she gets lucky because he dismisses another girl who couldn't get up from the floor. After training, Félicie sees Odette and runs into a room to avoid being seen. Inside, she sees a boy practicing and asks her friend about him. So her friend tells her it's Rudy from the top-performing boys' class, the most handsome boy in the opera, who gets to know them and deals with them with all his arrogance. Then Odette sees Félicie and is surprised to find her there. And when Félicie tries to explain, Odette doesn't give her a chance and walks away. So Félicie follows her to apologize, but Odette doesn't accept it because she trusted Félicie and she lied, which could cost Odette her job. So Félicie explains how badly she wants to be a ballerina and felt her dream could come true when she saw Rosita dancing. Then she apologizes again and leaves. Then Regine arrives and asks if there are any letters for her, but Odette intercepts Félicie before she can hand over the letter and says there are none. Odette then decides to train Félicie. They start training, and Odette ties a bell to a tree, asking Félicie to touch it, and Félicie touches it, but without balance or focus. So Odette pours water on the ground and asks Félicie to touch the bell without splashing any water. Félicie tries, but fails, until she sees a feather falling gently on the water, and understands she must move like a feather, and finally she succeeds, and she passes the second elimination round. Then Rudy takes her to the opera rooftop and apologizes for his previous behavior. After that, she goes to meet Vector and tells him about Rudy, and he shows her the place where he works, including his office and the wing project he's working on. She then returns to Odette and continues to train her every day, improving day by day, succeeding in the elimination round, and Louis notices her improvement. Then Odette asks Félicie why she wants to dance, and Félicie says it's her dream. She then tries to perform a big leap, but fails. So Odette tells her she's not ready for that jump yet. Then Victor arrives and teases her, and Félicie introduces him to Odette, explaining he's her friend and escaped the orphanage with her. He then takes her out, and they dance together, and the people around cheer for her. And her instructor, who's there by chance, tells her she performed well. Victor then takes her home, and when they arrive, she thanks him for the lovely time, and he thanks her back, calling her Camille. And Regine overhears this. The next morning, Félicie arrives for training and finds Camille, her mother, the instructor, and the opera director waiting for her. Then the instructor asks her name, and she confesses it's Félicie, explaining she didn't mean to harm Camille. She just wanted to join the opera, and apologizes. Odette then arrives, and Regine scolds her, firing her for being involved. However, Louis decides to accept Camille, but on the condition that Odette keeps her job. And he tells Félicie that though she initially had poor performance, lied and cheated, she worked hard and improved, so she can stay in the competition. If she wins, she gets the role. If she fails, she'll be expelled from the opera. And Odette resumes her job, and Louis and Félicie watch her. Then Félicie asks if Odette was a ballerina, and he says she was the best, until a fire at the theater ended her career. So Félicie goes to Odette and hugs her, and Odette tells her they need to surpass Camille, and that Camille is very strong, and she doesn't know what loss means. But Félicie is weak because she eats little, so Félicie fears she can't beat Camille. But Odette says she has something Camille doesn't, passion. She should channel her anger, pain, sadness, and joy into her dancing, and live and feel the music. And on the training day, the instructor eliminates Nora, leaving only Félicie and Camille in the competition. And Louis announces that tomorrow they will find out who will perform as Clara in the Nutcracker with Rosita. And Camille keeps bothering Félicie and balking her, calling her a nobody, and saying she will win the role. But Rudy comes and reassures her, saying he will always be with her, and invites her to an evening at the Eiffel Tower. When she leaves, she finds Victor waiting for her. She tells him she made it to the final competition, and Victor is very happy for her. She also tells him about Rudy, mentioning a connection between them. So Victor invites her to dinner at the Eiffel Tower at 7 p.m. And although she doesn't reply, he takes her silence as agreement. Later, Odette gives Félicie her ballet shoes and asks her to eat and start training for the next day's competition. But Félicie refuses because Rudy is waiting for her. And when she tries to leave, Odette stops her, insisting she needs to train. So Félicie gets angry, telling Odette she is not her mother. Realizing she hurt Odette, Félicie apologizes and leaves. She meets Rudy, who recites a poem he wrote, thinking she will like it, but she doesn't. Meanwhile, Victor prepares the romantic dinner for her and waits. Then, Félicie arrives with Rudy, surprising Victor, while Rudy thinks Victor is a beggar and tries to protect Félicie. But she explains Victor is her friend, and they grew up together. And when Victor sees her embarrassment about him, he feels hurt and accuses her of being ashamed of him. But Félicie tries to explain she isn't ashamed. But Victor and Rudy start fighting. Distressed Félicie separates them and leaves. The next morning, Félicie wakes up late for the competition and rushes to get there. But she's very late. Camille has already finished her dance, and the instructor is about to announce Camille as the one who will dance with Rosita. Félicie arrives just in time and begs for a chance to dance, so the instructor gives her the opportunity. But she falls during her performance, and he allows her to dance again, but she falls again. So the instructor decides to give the role to Camille, leaving Félicie heartbroken and in tears. Then Regine takes her back to the orphanage and fires Odette. And while asleep, Félicie dreams of herself as a child with her mother, wakes up feeling hopeful, and starts training alone. So the orphanage supervisor, moved by her determination, helps her escape and takes her to the opera. So she thanks and hugs him. Then she goes to Odette, apologizes, and says she wants to stay with her and help her clean. And Odette accepts her apology and they hug. Then she goes to look for Vector at his work to apologize, but he hides from her, not wanting to see her. However, she finds him and he gives her the repaired music box, making her happy, and she thanks him and leaves. She then sees the instructor scolding Camille because her dancing lacks emotion, even though it's technically perfect. Then Camille sees Félicie cleaning, so she mocks her again, prompting Félicie to challenge her to show her real dance. So they dance in front of everyone, with Camille pushing Félicie down. But Félicie gets up and continues to dance, impressing everyone with a big leap, and the audience applauds her. Then the instructor asks them why they dance. Camille replies it's because her mother wants her to, while Félicie says it's because dancing has always been a part of her life. So the instructor decides Félicie will dance the Nutcracker Rule with Rosita. So everyone cheers for her. Then Félicie goes to Vector and tells him she will dance that night and wants him to be there. So he confesses his feelings for her. But Regine, seeking revenge, hits him on the head and chases Félicie, trying to kill her. But Vector saves her with his invention, and they fly to the opera. And despite the delay caused by Regine's pursuit, they make it to the performance just in time, and Félicie tells Vector he's a great inventor. The performance then begins, and Félicie dances with Rosita, filling with love, and she finally achieves her dream of becoming a ballerina. And that's how the movie ends. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next movie.